All right, Ripple XRP holders, welcome back to the channel. So we're looking at the XRP to the US dollar price chart on the monthly and then also on the hourly here on the right-hand side. And we're going to get into the charts in this video. We're also going to be talking about the SEC to appeal the XRP ruling in the case against Ripple, what the pre-trial scheduling order has to say, dated on August 9th, some XRP price predictions, and the entire crypto industry bracing for a multi-trillion-dollar earthquake with gold. And we're also going to talk about Bitcoin with the halving coming up for 2024, what that's going to look like on the price chart, and also the US debt ceiling. The credit rating was downgraded, what that means for the entire crypto market. It's super bullish news. So comment 777 if you're feeling blessed. Bitcoin could rise to $120,000 by the end of 2024. That's what Standard Chartered says. And also we have some other price predictions by Matrix Port saying 125K by the end of 2024. We're getting into the stock to flow model on the live chart, and what a BlackRock insider has to say about a Bitcoin ETF on when that will be approved. So comment 777 if you're feeling blessed. Comment 777 if you're feeling bullish. If you're going to become the first millionaire in your family tree, you know what to do. Confirm it by tapping that subscribe button. Let's run it. All right, bull runners, welcome back to the channel. So Bitcoin sitting at $29,000, Ethereum at 1,855, XRP sitting at 64 cents, Dogecoin at 7.5 cents. You know, the markets are in this consolidation phase and accumulation phase right now before we break out. When we look at XRP and we see the symmetrical triangle on the macro on the monthly candles, it looks very similar to what happened back in 2017 before we saw this breakout period. And very different of a scenario. You know, a lot of people thought that this breakout for XRP was something like this that took place right here, where we saw XRP break out from 0.006, rally all the way up to a little bit above 1 cent, come back down to 0.008, and then break out of this range, which took about a week, about 7 days. And as you guys can see right now on the right-hand side of the chart, you know, how long are we in this? 27 days, so over a month. And so once we started to break down from this B wave right here, and we started to break to the downside, it was very clear that we weren't going to do a similar scenario that we saw right here, where XRP continued to rally to the upside of 7 cents, because, you know, the crypto market right now is still facing some headwinds on a macro market scale with what the Federal Reserve is doing, also with what's happening with institutional adoption, regulation, and some other things I'm going to be discussing with you in this video. And so what we're looking at right here for XRP, if I were to zoom out on the macro for you, is we're more so in a scenario like this, where XRP came up almost to this downward trending resistance line right here, very similar to what we saw happen right here. XRP didn't quite make it up to $1, and it got rejected from it, traded down a little bit further to 0.005, and then took off out of this. So my feeling on this for XRP, as we see the C corrective wave in, you see corrective wave A, B, and C bouncing off of this support almost, which was resistance back from March of 2023, coming back up again almost to 56 cents in June of 2023. So if XRP can hold this support floor right here over the rest of this year, as we get closer to BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF being approved with what I'm going to talk about in this video, then I think XRP could do some amazing things, because it is the only cryptocurrency alongside Bitcoin that has clarity right now. They're just waiting for the liquidity to flow into these markets. And so I wouldn't be surprised, if we don't see too much action for XRP over the next few months until we see Bitcoin start to move. Once we see Bitcoin start to move, and once we see the SEC's appeal versus the XRP ruling in the case against Ripple get some clarity right there, then we'll see institutional money start to come in, because a federal judge ruled that while Ripple's direct sales of XRP to institutional investors violated securities laws, its programmatic sales to retail investors through exchanges did not. Now, retail investors with XRP hold a very, very small percentage of XRP compared to institutional investors. And the institutional investors need to be confident knowing that, buying XRP OTC over the counter is going to be okay. And the US Securities and Exchange Commission will file an interlocutory appeal of a judge's ruling on Ripple's programmatic sales of XRP. The regulator said it in a court filing on Wednesday. And if we look right here, Judge Annalisa Torres of the U.S. Southern District Court has tentatively scheduled a trial on other issues that she did not rule on during the motion for a judgment for a second quarter of 2024. In its filing, the SEC noted that Ripple will have to respond by August 16th of 2023, which is a week from the letter's filing, and proposed filing an opening brief laying out the appeal on August 18th. Ripple would have 2 weeks to respond, and the SEC would have another week to reply to Ripple if the judge signs off on the filing. And as you can see right here, on July 13th, the court granted in part and denied in part the party's motion for summary judgment, and the court will seek to schedule a jury trial for the second calendar quarter of 2024. And by August 23rd of this year, the parties shall submit blackout dates for trial. By December 4th of this year, the parties shall submit any motion. Oppositions to any motion shall be submitted by December 18th. And by December 4th, the parties shall submit all required pretrial filings, including their proposed joint pretrial order, request to charge, verdict form, among many other things. And by December 4th, all parties shall deliver to the court one copy of each documentary exhibit sought to be admitted and assembled sequentially in a loose leaf binder or in a separate manila folder in multiple folders labeled with the exhibit numbers and placed in a suitable container for ready reference in accordance with paragraph yada 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 practices in civil cases. So the court shall schedule a final pretrial conference date upon setting a date certain for trial. So ordered, Annalisa Torres, August 9th. And this is going to happen 2024. And so XRP's price predictions, guys, I know a lot of people are impatient here because, with XRP getting clarity that they need, it's still not enough to push the price. Why is that? Well, it's because of Bitcoin. And many experts believe that Ripple might see a moderate surge in the coming months due to increased partnership with banks. 2024 might be a pivotal year, one of the most pivotal years to really start the bull run, with predictions suggesting a potential uptick by 2025, peaking into 2030. There's massive speculations for price predictions, estimating between $5 to up to a staggering $20 or $30. Even, with Wells Fargo, we saw a prediction of $100 to $500 with the liquidity of the derivatives market cracking into that with Ripple's partnership with BlackRock and JP Morgan Chase. And so many factors are leading to mainstream adoption here, but there are some headwinds that we need to look out for. And crypto is now bracing for a $6 trillion gold earthquake in 2024 after XRP leading Bitcoin and Ethereum's price boom. And looking right here, the chief executive of hedge fund Morgan Creek Capital Management, Mark Yusko, has predicted the Bitcoin price to soar to $300,000 by 2028, with next year's supply cut kicking off a rally that will push it beyond gold's $6 trillion market capitalization. Now, one thing that's interesting, I don't know if he got his facts straight here. Gold's market cap is $12 trillion. So even if it just hits half of gold's market cap, well, that's a 6x from the entire crypto's market cap right now. And Bitcoin, where Bitcoin's market cap is only at $500 billion. So Bitcoin is only $575 billion right now, whereas gold sitting at $12 trillion. So that's a lot of money to flow into Bitcoin and the rest of the market. In every Bitcoin halving, we've added a zero. By next April, I think we could go to $100,000, Yusko said, adding that Bitcoin's fixes gold's problems of portability and divisibility and is equally scarce. In April of next year, Bitcoin is expected to undergo its fourth halving, cutting the supply of new Bitcoin being awarded to miners who maintain the network to just over 3, down from just over 6 currently, which is a big deal because the market's initial rebound on buying back the most sagging assets was supported by the unexpected news on Fitch downgrading the U.S. long-term credit rating, which triggered an impulsive pull into Bitcoin and gold because of the debt ceiling debate and them pushing them back. And so the United States not being adequately enabled and proficient enough to manage their debts, Fitch, one of the 3 major independent agencies that assess credit worthiness of the government, cut the U.S. government's credit rating due to concerns over the state of the country's finances and its debt burden. And as you guys can see right here, on August 1st, they downgraded it from a AAA to a AA+. While it might not seem like a big deal, this is a massive deal because spending in debt is unsustainable. Interest costs are out of control. Inflation and interest rate hikes have weakened our economy. We will be in a recession by the end of the year. That's what's saying on the house.gov. The fiscal outlook only gets worse. Our debt to GDP has hurt the U.S.'s ability to absorb a major financial shock in the future. So it's going to get a lot worse for the banks. And if we don't change course, the U.S. will not only incur another credit downgrade, we will undermine the dollar as the global reserve currency. So Moody's is a AAA, Fitch is a AA plus, and Standard & Poor's is a AA plus. Think of these like the three major credit bureaus except for the country. So this is a big deal, guys. This is not something to sneeze at here. And so this is what caused Bitcoin now to rise and rally. And Bitcoin could rise to 120K by the end of 2024. This is what Standard Chartered is saying. Now I'm curious on what your guys' price predictions are for Bitcoin, because when we look at XRP's price chart and we go back to that by the end of this video, you'll see why this is important to focus on, because Bitcoin is the world's largest crypto by market cap, obviously. And by the end of 2024, Standard Chartered Bank released a report on Monday saying $120,000 is in the forecast. And it said at that time that Bitcoin has the potential to reach that level because of several factors, one of them being the banking sector crisis. Now, with bank runs happening in the past and potential more bank runs happening in the future, with smaller regional banks being consolidated into larger commercial banks that have more capital to be able to support themselves during recessions and financial crises and all of that. Well, then once those bank runs take place, where does that money move? It moves in the central banks, and it moves into commercial banks, and also moves into crypto. It moves into gold. It moves into silver, as people want to protect their asset class. Now, here's one thing that's interesting when we talk about the Bitcoin's halving based on miner profitability. This is miner capitulation, because in Bitcoin, profitability for the miners is a function of the Bitcoin's price and the cost for the miner to buy electricity to mine. When the price drops, less efficient miners are forced off the network because the Bitcoin they earn are not worth the cost to mine of the machines and the electricity, right? Because it costs too much to mine it, and Bitcoin's not worth it because it's going down in value. So most miners are exiting the markets. And many miners, along with the retail and institutional investors, but long-term holders are just backing up the truck even more during periods like during the bear markets. Many miners keep some or all of the Bitcoin they mine in order to sell them in a bull market to get maximum value for them while they mine during the low periods of the bear market. And the thinking in miner capitulation terms is that as the price drops and some miners are forced off of the network, they will sell these reserve Bitcoins, causing the price to drop further. Now, in the worst case scenario, it would cause a death spiral, but we haven't seen that take place. We've just seen, 80+% drop for Bitcoin, and then 90+% for most altcoins. But one thing that's interesting is this shows blocks since difficulty bottom. And each time we look at this right here in the past, once we've gone from 200K to zero is when it flips, and then we start the next bull run before the halving takes place. And then the halving, I'm going to point that out on the chart, but where are we right now? We're at 250,000 blocks since difficulty bottom. We've never been here before. And so once this flips, it is going to be a earthquake, because right here, Matrixport is also saying 125K for Bitcoin by the end of 2024, because on June 22nd of 2023, Bitcoin made a new one-year high, marking the first time in a year. This signal has historically indicated the end of bear markets and the start of a new crypto bull market. And if history is any guide, Bitcoin's price could climb by 123% over 12 months and by 310% over 18 months, based on the average return of the signals triggered in 2015, 2019, and 2020. So that would lift prices to about $65,539 in 12 months and $125,731 over 18 months. And that's what they added right here. And as you guys can see, $125,000 in 18 months by December of 2024. Is that possible? Well, anything's possible with what we've seen thus far. And Matrixport's views is consistent with Bitcoin's tendency to chalk out sharp uptrends in the 12 to 18 month period after the mining reward halves. And the fourth halving, which will cut the new coins paid per block to 3.25 Bitcoin from 6.5 Bitcoin, is set to happen in March and April of next year. And so when we look at Bitcoin's stock to flow model in the live chart, the days until the next halving for Bitcoin, when we see it go to blue, basically dark blue, 0 days, and then it halves, it flips to red. Now, when we look at where we are right now in comparison to the past, and I were to zoom in for you guys, we're about to turn blue here soon. When we saw it rally up, once it turned to blue, we kind of saw this consolidation period sideways. Nothing was happening. Bitcoin was just in a massive washing machine. But once it turned red and Bitcoin halved, then we started the bull run. And then things got absolutely insane for Bitcoin back after March and COVID and all that stuff. We consolidated sideways for a little bit. Bitcoin was at $9,000 on May of 2020, and it was at $10,000, $11,000 by October of 2020. So May, June, July, August, September, October. So for 6 months, Bitcoin didn't do too much, and then it started to go. So after Bitcoin halves, you have 6 months left after Bitcoin's halving to really start accumulating based on the last bull run. Now, if we were to look at the bull run before then, and we were to zoom in and see what happened when Bitcoin halved, just to understand that, well, Bitcoin was at $663 in July of 2016. And so it took until, right about here, once Bitcoin peaked over $1,000, it took some time. It took until December of 2016. And so from middle of the year, about 6 months. Yeah, same thing, 6 months of accumulation before Bitcoin really started to roll. And so you guys are going to have some time right now, but time is running out in terms of where we are compared to the stock to flow line right here. Because as you can see, we were a lot closer to this orange line you guys can see in the stock to flow model. We were about $114,000. So we're, $30,000 to $114,000. That's a big difference. 30, 60, 90, 3 to 4x away from that stock to flow line. We were at the stock to flow line when Bitcoin turned from green to blue. We were above it in the last cycle. In the cycle before then, where were we at right here? We were slightly below the line, maybe right at it. Yeah, we were slightly below the line, rallied up to it, and then kind of bobbled around the line, consolidating sideways for a while. Then once we turned blue, rallied up, Bitcoin halved, saw one correction down to $500, then took off out of there. And so we were more tied to this line in the past cycles before Bitcoin's halving. The fact that we are drastically below it by a significant amount right now shows how much liquidity is about to flow into this market with BlackRock's ETF filing getting approved relatively soon. Now, a BlackRock insider is saying Bitcoin's ETF is likely 6 months away. That's what Mike Novogratz is saying. An ETF could come even earlier than that too. Meanwhile, some analysts believe the wave of spot Bitcoin ETFs could come sooner depending on how a judge rules in Grayscale's lawsuit against the SEC, because Grayscale last year sued the SEC for rejecting its application to convert its Grayscale Bitcoin Trust into a spot ETF. So if the SEC loses its case against Grayscale, as we expect, the path of least resistance would be a wave of simultaneous approvals for all spot Bitcoin ETF applications, including Grayscale and the other 8 active filings, which would be absolutely insane. And so it's a big deal because both our contacts from Invesco's side and from BlackRock's side gets you to think that this is a question of when, not if, that the outside window, this is probably 6 months, when, not if, that the outside window will start to see into this market and start to funnel money from an institutional standpoint. So if you had to put a pin on the tail of the donkey audit, then when would that happen? When do you guys feel that would happen? Because this right here is what's holding back the market, is institutions pouring money in, massive banks pouring money in. And when we look at the past right here, we see where we are in comparison to 2019. How many days were we from this period right here? If we were to measure from when Bitcoin halved to before Bitcoin broke out, we were about 368 days to 400 days away. And so where are we right now in terms of Bitcoin's halving? So we're about 250 days away, 250-ish days away. So from the last period right here, how far away were we from Bitcoin breaking out from this critical zone of resistance? About 240 days away, 250 days away. So very, very close. So being a good student of the past is a great way to see what's about to happen in the future. And as you can see, this key support floor right here, when Bitcoin broke out on January of 2021, it held this support until it broke below it on May of 2022. It came back up and bobbled around it for a little while before falling down below with Celsius, FTX, Terra Luna collapse, money being pulled out of the crypto market, and then Bitcoin crashed over 70+%, 78%. It didn't see quite as big of a fall as before because a lot of institutions and a lot of long-term holders are still holding Bitcoin. They didn't want to get rid of it. And so it shows that institutional adoption is stronger. And we've been in a longer consolidation period from the bottom to where we are right now. If we look at this, we've been here for about 270 days. Now, when Bitcoin broke out from this period in the past bull market cycle, we were at about 140 days. So the level of consolidation here, just building. The pressure is building up. The more that the pressure builds up, the larger the spring out of here, which is insane. As we can see back here in 2015, how long were we in this period? About 300 days. And then even 480 days from this period right here. And that's when we saw Bitcoin go absolutely crazy from the bottom. It rose over, 12,000%. Yeah, over 12,000% during the previous bull market cycle. Now, will the bull market cycle be as big when Bitcoin halves? I don't know. I don't necessarily think it will, because it takes more liquidity to move these markets now because the market cap is larger. I mean, if you were to grow from a $1 million market cap to 1 billion, that's a lot more of a percentage gain than going from 1 billion to 10 billion, because that's larger than a 10x right there. It's like 100 or 1,000x, or I don't even know how big that would be. But as we can see right here, every time Bitcoin's halved in the past, before that, we saw a massive price volatility. Once Bitcoin halves, bull run. Right before then, massive price volatility. Once Bitcoin halves, a little bit of a sell-off right here, but then bull run. Same thing right here. Massive price volatility, COVID right before Bitcoin halved. Bitcoin halved, bull run. So what are we going to see over the next few months? I would expect something like this to take place. Massive price volatility, and then Bitcoin halves, bull run. Then we see a bull run. So where Bitcoin is going to go between now and April of 2024 is anyone's guess. I would expect it to at least come back up to $47,000 to $50,000, potentially the all-time high, but then see a massive correction. I don't expect Bitcoin to pass its all-time high until after April of 2024. And so right now is the most important time to start backing up the truck, accumulate as much cash flow as you possibly can, because when we look at the XRP price chart, the last two times that Bitcoin have, one was right here. XRP went on a rally from 18 cents upwards of $1.80, even regardless of the lawsuit. The time before then, XRP was sitting at 0.006, and then XRP went upwards of $3.60. And so when the halving takes place in 2024 for XRP, and we were to see Bitcoin start to rally after that, then I would expect liquidity to flow into XRP as well too, and for XRP to see a massive rally. So until that happens, I'm just expecting massive volatility for XRP, and not too much, not too big of a massive breakout, although it could happen sooner, and we could see anything happen within the next week, the next month. That's why time is of the essence here. You should not sit back and wait and think that it's going to be based on Bitcoin's halving, because XRP has clarity now, and once the wall of money starts flowing in from the derivatives market, once BlackRock's ETF gets approved and the other ETFs start getting approved, then it'll be like gold from 2003, because right around here is when the first gold ETF was filed for paper trading gold. And we saw gold go from $300 an ounce all the way upwards of $1,900 an ounce after that. So, do you want to miss out on the liquidity that's going to flow into the crypto market once it starts to get adopted? I know a lot of people think crypto is fugazi, but what is the US dollar backed by? Fugazi. So don't wait. Back up the truck all the way to the bank, grab the bags, pack them and stack them. Leave no bags left behind, because the spending power of the dollar is going down in value. That's a fact based on inflation, cryptocurrencies, blockchain technology, and the bull runners. Together, we're all going camping on the beaches of the moon. I will see you on the next video. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel right now. As always, you know what to do. Stay bullish.